Hello, I'm Radagast. This is Mystic Brew. I'm here with Vernon, also Aianawa, two names. And we're two mystics talking, and I guess we're going to be talking about, well, I'll be talking about sacrifice to sacred, probably bring in the new angels again. And Vernon, you were going to start to talk off with.
Noospheric cleansing, transmutation, and the noospheric pain body. How it's come from the technosphere as we've gone into the new and the new template, the noosphere building up, and how the pain body is being somewhat forgiven, somewhat transmuted, somewhat stood up to, all at the same time. But the sacrifice thing, what can you throw that to start off with?
Okay, I'll segue right into after. Like, in other words, for me, there, like the Oracle at Delphi was a temple and it had two doors, and one said "Know thyself," and the other said "Nothing in excess." And of course, everybody thinks success means too much. It means nothing in excess. It means not too little, done too much. It's about balance. It's about the Tao. Know thyself. And so to know thyself is to also know thy pain body, thy shadow. I mean, if you don't know these things and if you have not had the discussions with those aspects of yourself and come to a place of sanity, especially as we get into our older years, not only do we owe it to ourselves, we owe it to the people who might be looking to us for wisdom to have our shit together. And that means having our fucking pain body in order.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't, the management of the pain body is so tied into forgiveness, really. And the main reason most people have still have pain is because they can't forgive people for things they did. You have, I mean, because of this, I mean, I speak from experience. I had a lot of pain, and I realized by forgiving and just saying, you know what, I bet you if we could do that over again, it might be different. I know I'd be different, and that would be a different outcome. So since we can't do that, all we can do is, okay, we're moving forward. Okay, you know, I mean, like I said, if I cut myself, my wound heals. So why don't the inner wounds heal? Because we don't allow it. Fortunately, we can't get in the way of our body unless we keep on picking at the scab. So we all need to learn from our own body. Even if we cut it deliberately, oh, I'm so mad at you, I cut myself, whatever. The body doesn't go, oh, you're so mean, you cut me, I'm not healing. Your body heals because it's the right thing to do. And healing our pain bodies is the right thing to do for ourselves, for our community, and especially for our children.
Yeah, yeah. Like many of us, especially empaths and nice people. I think a lot of people that have pain and they don't recognise their pain body, they're still a beautiful soul, and that may be what us to them. And then all of a sudden, the pain body comes out, which is like watching a demon sometimes. And they quite often have memory of it.
My mother was a very beautiful soul. Unfortunately, she was very unhappy and a very unpleasant mother.
Mm.
Fortunately, it's just like it wasn't personal. She was caught up in her own stuff. She was caught up in her own pain body. So I'm not gonna, like, was the beautiful soul was not the pain body. And any of the problems I ever had with this beautiful soul was with her pain body.
This is an interesting aspect because it's easy to forgive your mum, or sorry, easier to forgive a family member or a mum or a dad, especially a mum. But when you get into a relationship with a partner, man or woman, it's really hard to forgive. The pain body aspect I'm talking
Once again, I mean, I dance. If I came out of a relationship with pain, I was one of the dance partners.
about. Mm-hmm.
So again, I mean, the thing is, I might be able to accord, okay, but again, they were acting in there from this crazy place. So I mean, my whole thing is I just keep moving forward and forgiving people. And if people like, if there are certain people, it's like I don't think I want to necessarily get close again. I want to keep a good distance, but animosity, I go, no, 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 please. And I'm not, I don't want any karma to follow you. In other words, I forgive you. If you go life, if you encourage any karma, it's not for me. I want you to suffer no karma from anything that I thought you were wrong me for. Fuck that.
Yeah.
I don't need it.
And this is why we've got spirit, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, providing us macro, providing us real time, Schumer, Pelosi, many other Republicans and Democrats and people that are on TV, interviewers, talking heads, etc., in their pain body.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter whether it's Trump or somebody else doing the best in their country or whatever. It's watching the pain bodies. Pelosi's beautiful. You couldn't get a better example of a pain body in action.
Yeah.
I know people that like her, and I like those people that like her, and I'm sitting there going, how can they even connect with her?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's a pain body in there, I don't know. But anyway, it's on show so strongly. The pain body. It never used to be. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It never used to be as on show like it is now. And this is waking people up.
Yes. Well, this is, I mean, to me, this is 2020 time. And 2020 is also hindsight. And, that's what they say. 2020 is hindsight. So that means from 2020, we should look back a few years and look at the path we've trod. What have we learned? I mean, especially in the truth community, how much more truth do you need? Now we need a plan. We don't need more truth. We need a fucking plan. We need cooperation. We need discussion. Because we don't have a plan without discussion first. But the whole thing is, if you have to come out of that victim mode. Oh, they're doing this to me. Yeah, what are we going to do to them?
You do realize that the pain body being shown for what it is has actually brought about the virus, the
Yes.
coronavirus.
Well, the biggest part of this is a mind virus. I mean, the panic buying of all this stuff is a mind virus, not the virus. There's more mind virus than actual pathogen here. The real pathogen is going on here, and it's being fed by the media.
People were getting up there. People are starting to realize, and the numbers are showing in America, very big, and overseas, that they can't be bullshitted anymore. People are using their logic when they need to, and they're using both sides of their brain with their heart.
That's right.
All of a sudden, they can try and create fear, and it's not working. For me, I was listening to a farming program that's on, I think it's every Wednesday, New Zealand. So it's very well watched by people in the city as well, because it's good. It's informative. There's very wise people involved in it, calling certain politicians dickheads because they are. It's obvious, They don't, But anyway, they do the talking, and it's very astute. And when they talked about the virus, the older gentleman there, and he's a lovely man, just goes, this is taken completely out of proportion. People are going to look so silly in a few weeks' time.
Yeah.
And he was saying it in such a way, but there was total silence from the 4 other people. Total silence. He was downloading them. I never clicked at the time, but he was downloading them. So these are important people. So they're going to go off. They're still going to get pummeled with the 4 a.m. narrative, the news and everything else. They're lost. They're in their own. They're not in their own thoughts or mind or know themselves. That the elder wise person created it for them. So earlier on, when you said it's up to us to work with the collective mind, and neurospherically, and the pain bodies and everything else, that was beautiful. This is not a spiritually inclined person. This is an income farmer. He's probably around the 70s mark, well respected and loved. People will listen. And if he's saying, let's be logical about this, there's a bit of stupidity going on. Can't believe I can't get toilet paper. There's none in the aisles. What's going on? And the people are listening, but there's also tens of thousands, or probably 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 other New Zealanders listening. And as I say to you, New Zealand sees the light first. So there's a tail and a head happening at the same time. So we begin the Ouroboros, or the tail and the head. We begin that process. The light hits New Zealand first, It can go around or oval or dimensional. So knowing that's happening allows me to say it ain't going to last. It doesn't matter how good the mainstream media and the wers, negs, putrids are. They're not going to be able to hold on to this very long. They'll have to create something else soon. And they ain't got much left. Oh, we've lost you already. You lost me.
Okay, no, I muted myself because I coughed before. I mean,
Oh.
at the beginning of what you said, you know, you started with the right and the left brain, then you said the heart. And as soon as you said that, I realized that the heart, you know, how the heart looks. And in many ways, the heart is two hemispheres.
Mhm.
For me, the heart is not the seat of the emotions, it's where wisdom is. The emotions come from a little lower. Because they're feelings, all right? And the feelings come from a lower chakra, that's their thing. But I mean, so for me, wisdom is located in the heart, and the heart again represents two lobes, and to me, those in many ways could represent the lobes of the right and left brain converging into one coherence. And even in the heart, you can almost see like, you know, like a magnetic field, you know, in a certain way, you know, where there's, you know, a pole and a convergence and whatever.
Would you like
So,
to be Piers?
I really enjoyed that.
Not at the moment, but I will get some soon. Thanks now.
So here,
Just got my young one playing with the landlord's young ones outside.
great.
I didn't hear the last bit. Sorry, Marty.
You know, I was just kind of reiterating the, you know, the heart and how, like, even not only does it represent two hemispheres, but almost like a convergence of the energy. In other words, the hemispheres become one, and that is wisdom. You know, the wisdom isn't just like going off into in complete holistic land, or you know, and we all know wisdom is not found in pure like left brain logic. It's we need both of them because they fill each other in, they complete each other. You know, it's like trying to pick a side of the Tao. You know, without both of them, you have no convection, you have no action. It would be static. It is that in that constant equalization of so-called pressure fields that creates the dynamic of creation, just like a magnetic field does.
The young one just gave me this while you were talking.
Ah,
Nice synchronicity.
yeah,
It's like the heart as well.
yeah. No, I mean, there's so much, especially where you're holding it.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah.
Ah,
Nice.
so yeah, my whole thing, my whole riff on sacrifice is, again, there are so many terms that we now use that to me have been taken out of their sacred setting. And that to me, taking the, you know, the ancient wisdom, the old religions, you know, the earth religions, and their sacred things, they're the ones who built the beauties of the ancient world. And so when, to me, you know, when this new group came in and they had this new thing of this hungry God, they had a hungry God. Okay, that's why all sacrifice was going on. Hungry God needed blood. But in the old days, I mean, first of all, the word sacrifice is really clear to break down. Sacra means sacred, and face comes from facer, to make. So it's to make sacred. So in other words, like in the old days, let's say, you know, a village had a certain deity. You know, it might have been Apollo, it might have been whatever. They, you know, they would pick the deity that would kind of maybe best pick the kind of muse or creative aspect, because you had all the muses also within, you know, the Greek pantheon that had to do with the arts. So in other words, but you probably would have had some kind of at least earth entity that you felt was the protector, even if it was an ancestor or whatever. So in other words, and most of the ancient world was largely vegetarian except for feast days, and there were many feast days because it was all celebrations. I mean, we celebrated life. The old people know how to celebrate life, and They had all kinds of reasons to celebrate, like very important part. So very often for those feasts, there would be meat. So you know, the biggest animal usually for meat, it might be a goat if you only had a goat, but if you had a cow or a bull, you would use the bull because that would be the meat for the feast. So you would have to kill the bull. Well, now the ancients knew that when you kill anything, you release this life energy. There's this energy that's actually available, and that's why certain dark magicians will use the blood and that release of energy to direct it into something foul. So, but in the old times, when you sacrificed an animal that you were going to eat, you had to butcher. In other words, this was a butchering, but the butchering was made sacred. Sacrifice means to make sacred. And you made it sacred by when this life force was released, rather than maybe being picked up by some jinn or some other thing, you had a clearly identified beneficent entity, deity of your village or whatever that could take that energy and make sure that it was secured, if not neutralized, secured for the good of the well-being of the village.
We live in very interesting times when you can sit there and make me feel quite comfortable with sacrifice.
Well,
You've said it.
The whole thing was, again, this was a butchering. They were going to butcher the animal, but everybody knew that there was this force released. So they released it to something beneficial, something that would, if that energy was anything, would be returned to the village.
I'm going to segue into a little interesting synchronicity. On the Above Top Secret Yes Q White House thread, there's been a riddle this week. Obsidian, the molten glass.
I know it's
magnum, and its uses, etc. And so there's been a lot of talk and riddle and working it out, looking at the facets, and of course the sacrifice thing came in very strongly, because it denoted more negative, even though obsidian can be used as a repeller of negative, etc. But obviously for the times we're in, it was now that you have brought along the sacrifice from sacred, making sacred, there's a new way of looking at it. So I know that once I get I always put on the Q thread there. I will also put as a summary beforehand at the time we were talking about it. Look at it. That and it's a little shout out here to Cranky Old Man, Real Sufi, Cherokee Troy, Pokey Joe, Just a Wee Baby, all these different that I'm starting to have like a new family there.
Mm-hmm.
As strange as it feels, this is a thread. I'm feeling more connected, closer and closer to the gold, silver.
Obsidian's a very interesting mineral. First of all, obsidians make the finest blades. They actually compared up. They did surgeries with regular surgical scalpels and obsidian blades, and the obsidian wounds healed quicker.
Ooh,
now, one of the reasons why they heal quicker is that the stainless steel precision surgical blades make a very straight line cut. The obsidian blades cut just as easily, if not easier, but because of their nature, there's a little bit of a waggle. It's not a straight line. And nature doesn't like straight lines.
Yes.
And our bodies are part of nature. So one of the reasons why the wounds heal quicker is that little tiny just that little jaggedness in the cut. I mean, you need a microscope to see it. You need a very high powerful magnifier to see it. But it isn't, in other words, the stainless steel is like straight clean. The obsidian just has this tiny little bit of a waver in it. And tissue likes that. So anyway, but anyway, so the obsidian blades used to cut out the hearts of all those sacrifices of, you know, that, you know, the Aztecs did. So there's the dark side of obsidian, especially as it was used there. Now, once again, yeah, this is how we make the distinction. They could call that making sacred, but the whole thing was that the whole idea of making sacred was to take something that was being released and make it sacred, and you come, and sacred is, you know, who the people are. And it comes back to the people, where the Mayan or the Aztecs were feeding hungry gods. You have to realize in other words, when the ancients were sacrificing to a deity, the deity did not need that life force. They were releasing the deity to handle that life force responsibly for them. Where in the other side, why you had these mass sacrifices, these lines, whatever, because these gods were hungry. Hungry gods are very suspect, because that means there's something wrong. Those are black holes. What the fuck's going on here? Why do they need all this energy? That alerts you right away. You're dealing with evil.
Mm.
And Quetzalcoatl, I mean, one of the reasons he left was because the priesthood had started to come up with the gods are angry bullshit. And they started withholding the eclipse information from the people and started making up shit that the reason why this is happening is because we need to sacrifice more people.
Mm.
They manipulated the people. The priesthood, if you want to look at the real root of evil, you look at the ancient, I'm talking about the priesthoods, not the nobility, not the shamans, not the leaders. I'm talking about the priesthood as a caste. And they were, you know, they're right there with the warriors, with the fucking.
Isn't it amazing? And we see it today as well, where the push down and all the different abuses creating pain to the point when people fight back. And as soon as that's done, they get thrown in prison or worse. Yeah, even stuff that I've seen and gone through, and if I didn't know thyself, energy, fought back. There's a time to fight back, ways of fighting back. And for me, it's like at the moment, I'm fighting back by trying to be the best be with the changes I'm going through, because I see everything as a consciousness. So what I've been going through with my separation, which has its ups and downs, I'm trying to do as balanced as possible, because huge aspect of that everything, the consciousness, every split, breakup, separation, divorce, out of that consciousness of them. So when you're going through it yourself, you get a choice whether to enhance that, transmute some of that. So I'm being as aware as possible, and it's fairly difficult. I'm being as aware as possible that I'm part of the transmutation process. We can transmute now. Once upon a time, we could only do it for ourselves, but we can actually transmute on behalf of. And that means sometimes standing up, putting up, not being on that fence, and being up, just being present, or just walking away, or just running away. You know, it's okay. I learned the first time I was in a toxic relationship, I had to run away, and I remember being like a 4-year-old running down the shop or something to get away from something bad I'd done or something. That's what it felt like. I was in my, I was in my 30s, and I'm like, oh my god, a 4-year-old. I'm scared of this person that's half my size, basically. You know, and I said, I'm a big 6'6" runaway. It was crazy, you know, the aspect of that somebody could get you to the point where you were so scared to actually get out of a relationship, and then the point where you first 5 times ended up running away, and learning that was such a beautiful person. Anybody took over the relationship and allowed me to see in myself, and yeah, we couldn't work with the in those days like we can now. And it's the pain body that's been running this world in a negative way. And the ones that produce that, you know, if you look at a generational point of view, you're going back a long way. If you're looking at peer review, you're going back even further. If you're looking at from a galaxy point of view, you're going back even further. But that pain body, we get the opportunity to work with time and time again. And we're here now, and that's the only way we transmute it. The young one taken care of, they're off watching a movie for the next hour.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I acknowledge the pain. I mean, I acknowledge all the things people do, but for me, it's once something is identified, if you don't deal with it, I mean, I've been talking about the same shit for years now. And it's fucking boring. That's one of the reasons I mean, I need you to do a broadcast. I'm done. I can't take it anymore. It's been too fucking long. We have been all pursuing this path too long for any more bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
That's
I'm sick. I am fucking sick of it. That's why I don't do any more. My YouTube channel will be dead without you. Or if I write a new song. If I write a new song.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, come on, how much fucking more information we need? We need plans. We need cohesion. And one of the problems is everybody wants to have their own truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They don't want to have a shared narrative. And that's one of the reasons why the organized religions, to me, is dysfunctional and as wrong as they are, in error as they are. At least they have a cohesion. They agree on something, even if they choose to disagree, they're agreeing on the basic premise to disagree with. And once again, if you don't have a creation narrative, you're clueless in creation. And with your clueless in creation, you're just stumbling around, looking for the thing you're going to think is going to unlock it for you. You need a narrative. You need to know where you came from, what your place in the galaxy is, why you're here, so you can operate. You can be a purpose in creation. And if you don't have the correct creation story, you're fucking clueless in creation. You might have a great heart, and you might do wonderful things. I'm not saying being clueless means that you're a bad person. But you will be stumbling around and you're going to be hitting so many obstacles that you didn't need to hit because you don't really understand how creation is. You don't understand there is no fucking original sin.
Well, it's very important at the moment for what we're in. You and me and many others are holding in our own way, spherically, but the micro holds the macro. The macro doesn't hold the micro, So we hold the macro. At the moment, the macro is in shock. The macro is in shock because their sports teams are not playing.
Oh, that's the fake. That's the fake macro.
Mm-hmm.
That's the world macro.
The travel plans. People have lost their money because their tickets aren't being refunded. And this is a month out. So at the moment, there's a shock going on. All of a sudden, there's nothing to watch on TV like there usually was. All of a sudden, it's like we have to get the kids outside and do things, or go pick up gran and granddad and do things, or go fishing, or there's still stuff on the internet and that, but changes happen. And these changes, and it's a bit of shock there. And there's a lot of people that are now in that shock of, we're not. That's why we're holding it as a micro, each individual. And we know, you're in the internet a lot across different forums or different places, and you know when you come across another person that's holding the macro, trying to work with the holding the micro, trying to work with the macro, you know them straight away. For me, it's like yourself. Cranky old man's another one on the ATS forum. And there's one and many others as well. But you see them and you know, and you listen, and you gather whatever you can. They may listen to you as well. They may listen to our broadcast we're doing, but they also know there's a big shock going on out, and people are not going to be who they really are. They're going to exhibit their pain body, and this is what we have to have. You know, I was not a bad person before I came spiritual and started being present and there and becoming a teacher. You know, I had to go through, what the fuck is this? It's dark. It's not nice. I better give up drinking.
Mm-hmm.
God, etc. And go through my journey with that and the other things. Through that process, I started to help people instead of hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what's happening at the moment on a shock scale. We never had this before, not like we have at the moment. 9/11 is the closest I can think to shock value. But this is in a different word, shock value, but it's more comprehensive as well, because it's not one place, 9/11 America, then Iraq or whatever, not like that, but it's worldwide at once, all happening.
This is an attempt at a worldwide 9/11. Because
Oh,
after
yes, yes.
9/11, we got the Patriot Act. I mean, again, I flew twice after 9/11. I was only to go see my son. And I will not fly again as long as there's a TSA to make me take off my shoes and go through my luggage. Okay.
Mm.
And I remember the moment they announced it, I said, "This is a horrible idea. We need to boycott the airlines." You know what the average person said to me? "But it makes me feel safer." And then it brings up, the whole thing when the lady asked Benjamin Franklin, "What kind of government do we have?" He said, "A republic, if you can keep it."
Mm.
And so, and he was the same man who said, "Those who would give up their freedom for a bit of security, for a little bit of security, will obtain neither." And so, this is what this hurt me, is like the moment this whole TSA thing started, the moment it hadn't even started, I said, "We need to boycott the airlines." "Oh no, I feel safer." And right away, it's just like, you're giving up your freedom for security, and you'll get neither. You won't be more secure, and you'll be less free. And I mean, it's just like, so, there's a certain, with the general public, there's a certain despondency that happens with that kind of attitude. Because freedom, here we're going to segment into another word that I have with you, right. Our rights. Okay. Well, what does the word right really mean? Then we think our rights, and this now spelling matters, but it's, at the end of the day, it's one word, ladies and gentlemen. The word right comes from ritual, that which we hold sacred. So our rights are those things that we hold sacred, and what we hold sacred, we're willing to die for. And that's why all the ancient teachers are dead, because they held their ground and were killed for it.
Yeah.
They kept the sacred sacred, and that's why they were killed.
We can hold our ground now and not be killed.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing that this, to me, the old people, the pagans, all right, the people of the earth, the people who understand, if you have a land, that's your land. This whole
Barbarians.
private property thing is bullshit. How can people have a land when they owe taxes? To who? For what? People need to have a land. If people don't have a land, they're not a people. If they're not a people, they're a nation state, they're a government, whatever. No, that doesn't define us. The psychopath, because once again, once you have a government, you have psychopaths running it, or psychopaths and sociopaths, and they are not the people. They don't represent the land. So, I mean, people have to, there is a huge, real awakening. And to me, it comes with the correct narrative of who created us, why are we on this earth? What's our purpose on this earth? And I'm not here to give that narrative. I've done it. I've tried it. I had my live stream, Can't You Hear Me, Gnostic, where I tried to deliver the narrative, and the chat was about everything except what the fuck I was talking about.
I remember your frustration.
everything. You know, the chat was like a social fucking gathering. Oh yeah, Bodwiz is doing something. Oh yeah. You know, and occasionally you might get a comment, but usually it's like a disagreement.
Mm.
So again, since I've disengaged from trying to work with people who really want entertainment, and you know, they call it knowledge. Please stop bullshitting both of us.
Mm.
Because there's plenty of knowledge out there. The knowledge is all over the internet. It's not in the latest fucking live stream, and it's certainly not my latest live stream. And so you know, it just. But you're still engaged. You still feel that engaging. So I mean, my whole thing is like maybe I'm being a cranky old man, and so I should let the gentle giant, Vernon. You know, he says like, "Come on, let's talk to them." And the moment you said it, I said, "Okay." Once again, you're kind of pulling the cranky old man out of his hermit cave. Although, in my social life, my real life, the people I hug, the people who know my face, the people I know their face and their voice. If I hear on the phone, oh, hello. I mean, like real people. Man, it's exploding. I mean, I got a call on Wednesday. I'm playing a gig tomorrow night that I went to a rehearsal today for. Matter of fact, I'm so busy, I was going to play on Sunday night my own material. I didn't have time for my own material because I had to study for this other gig, 3.5 hours of music. And, but I mean, it's just like, and I don't have a car. How do I get around? People come and get me. Because, in other words, if you want me, I'm here. If you want me, you gotta come and get me. I can't get to you. And if you don't, and if that's a burden, find somebody else.
Yeah, as you're speaking, I had a crisis morning. Local market in Littleton, just over the hill, but local market here, because I got special cheese I like. Yeah, and I hadn't got it for a while because of over there with the young one, and got my cheese and that, and I seen a good friend who I'm connected with, who is Maori, the Indigenous peoples in New Zealand, and I'm not Maori, and I went straight up to him and to do a hongi. Did the hongi. Do you know what a hongi is?
No.
There's two ways. The Waitaha way is that you're doing like a handshake hand. So that's between here. So you're like a normal handshake you and me would do. And this is the Waitaha side of it. So then you've got your land here. It's the only chakra that's a interdimensional.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Past life connect. So that's theirs. So this is under there. This connects with there. That's your past life connection and intertwine for things to come up that need to come up. Do the breath with them. That's here to here, mouth. You're not kissing them or anything. Just breath, they call it. But then you have the nose to nose and third eye to third eye, which is self for us, I think. And then you also have the hand on the shoulder. And you see the more aggressive ones are up here, holding you, your mind, and the other ones are right on that nurture thing in the acupuncture shoulder. That's where you mean. Anyway, and the Mary one is more to do with the breath. Anyway, he goes, oh, we shouldn't be doing this because this is how the colonials killed half-assed Marys. They arrived there through their diseases and things like that. I didn't even argue with them. There may be something in that. Not for me, though. But it was a shock because we're doing the hongi, then he pulled out because you do it naturally. You don't think. I'm meeting a friend that, through my involvement with his iwi, his tribe as such, involved through other things, tribe. So I was doing a hongi with him. Then there was the shock of like, oh, we can't do our traditional cultural thing because of the virus. And I'm like, oh my God. I just said to him, I'm not into it. I know it's there, but I'm not too worried about it. I left it at that. That was scary. That was bringing it down to earth for me because I basically ignored it, aware of it, and it ain't gonna take over my mind, or so that was a big shock for me. It was just a wee shock. It was like, wow, because I never even thought of it being maybe hazardous, or in their thinking, or somebody else's thinking, that it could be hazardous. It's such a beautiful connection with somebody. You can see them for a while, especially. You know what I mean? You know, if you meet everybody, give them a handshake and a hug,
Yeah, I still do.
and all of a sudden you meet them and you do a fist pump. It's like,
No,
ain't doing it for me. We're
no,
not
no,
connecting. Yeah, yeah. I think
no.
it'll
I
dissipate
mean, if
fast.
somebody does that, I mean, that gives me information about like, now I know a little bit more about this person than I thought I did.
Are they out watching the movie? No, just playing outside. All right, sweetie. Sam. So, popping out. I'm looking after the children.
So anyway, rights are what we hold sacred.
Mm.
In other words, that's why, I mean, there have been some people, like John Lamb said, like, there is no such thing as rights. But to me, the only thing that was missing from that was him breaking down where the word rights come from. Even to write is to create a ritual. Spelling.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, our rights are the things that we hold sacred. So if we hold freedom of speech as a right, it's because we hold it as sacred. The ability for us all to hear each other is something we hold sacred. And it doesn't come from, we know this. And of course, and we know this because the knowledge we have, the nous we have, comes from the creator herself, in my case. So it's real, you know, it's like the thing is, our rights come from what we know we must keep sacred. And they don't come from a government. They don't come from a constitution. They don't come from a Bill of Rights. Because notice how it's spelled, R-I-G-H-T. And once again, that's a corruption. Our rights are what we hold sacred. What is like, you know, like a form of ritual for us. And so correct behavior in many ways is a form of ritual for us. You know what I mean? In our private lives, we can hang upside down and jerk off into our mouths if we want. It doesn't fucking matter. All right. But in the public space, you know, there's a certain, like, I would call it profane sacred of a certain conduct that we all, you know, we you know, things that we know keep the calm. And it doesn't have to be boring, but we don't incite, we don't cause fires. You know, we all can kind of perceive what we have, that ability, that the nous gives us the ability to perceive our setting. And we're still, even if we don't have the normal telepathy that we think we should have, we still have kind of like that empathetic reading of a crowd. And I would like to share one thing with anybody who wants to practice telepathy, because I did it with a young girl. I think she was still in diapers, but she was at a club. And I had learned, if you want to use telepathy, when you think the thought, you think it from your throat chakra. In other words, your lips might even move in a certain, you know, I mean, in other words, you are actually saying it without saying it. Imagine saying it from here, from your throat, and then throwing that towards somebody. Now, most people are too busy with their own monkey mind, you know, myself included. But I threw it at this young girl who couldn't speak yet. She was with her father. So I threw her the thought, if you can hear me, look at me. And right away, she looked at me. And what I said, what do you have to tell me? And her father was moving her to the music. And what she told me was, you saw my face. I don't really like being moved like this. I like the music, but I don't want to be moved in this jerky fashion. So I told her father that. The funny thing is, she had a sister of about 9 there. Everything I was telling her father that I was getting from the daughter telepathically, her 9-year-old sister was confirming. When I said she doesn't like being bounced up and down, her sister said, that's correct. I forget what her name was. It was like Elizabeth, but she didn't, like, it was like, could you call it whatever? It was some kind of name that there was many variations. And so I asked her, what do you want to be called? She says, I don't know. And I said, she doesn't know what she really wants to be called yet. And her sister said, that's correct. So I told her father, I said, look, you don't know me. And I know this is going to be really strange, but I'm picking up stuff from your daughter because I have that capacity. At least in this situation, I certainly did. And I said, and if you notice, your daughter who can speak is confirming everything I'm saying. So I said, if you ever want to know what your daughter who can't speak yet wants, ask your 9-year-old daughter, because she knows what she can't say. I don't know if he followed that advice. Again, I'd never met this man. I met him at a local place listening to music, a brewery that has music. And, I think it was kind of an aspy, audacious thing for me to say, but I felt it was like a good piece of information. In other words, I found out that the 9-year-old sister, who was fully conversant and very intelligent, really intelligent, she was great, could communicate with her non-speaking sister. And I thought it would be a great thing for her, this man who's trying to relate to this little baby. And you could tell he loved her. He was there. He wasn't in the brewery dancing, trying to enjoy the way he would enjoy music. But she was like feeling like jerked around. It was like he was moving her to the music. I could just watch her. She was like, you could see her tolerating. It's like, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to complain, but I could see it in her face. So, I mean, anyway, I'm trying to tell people, if you ever want to experiment with telepathy, it's probably best not to go into like a social situation where everybody's all occupied. Ask somebody with a quiet mind, and then from your throat, imagine you're speaking to them, but you don't use words, and see how that works. This is like one of the things I'm going to throw out there for everybody to experiment with, because it's something you can play with. Everybody says, do your inner work, do your inner work. How about experimenting with telepathy? And I'm saying the way you experiment is you don't throw your thought from here. You throw it as if you were going to say it. It's almost like I said, even if you move your lips, just don't say it. But I mean, I've noticed when I've done it, sometimes your lips almost want to move because you really are using your throat without using words. And that is really what telepathy comes from, the throat, not from the third eye. The throat chakra.
It'd be good to a strange place. To those people listening, just before Modi and me started, we had a bit of a conversation, and it was to do with basically the setup for the energy nowadays, earthwise. And I remember as a child, my father talking about.
You're cutting out, just so you know.
Okay. That's interesting. I'm trying to work out how to get my feelings out.
Yeah, it's that distance seems to work a little better.
Okay. It was to do with basically. Right, I'm going to do it back to front. About 3 years ago, I had a concussion, and it put me off work for 6 months or more. It was a bad one. It took a lot of getting back. I used all my tools, a lot of other people's tools, and of course the government helped and a few things. And I got back to work full time, and I did my best. I knew I wasn't 100%, and that's okay. But then about 15 months later, I got a second concussion. And this wasn't as bad as the first. It was a doozy and took a lot longer. And I realized probably 5 months or 6 months into it, this was not like the last one. Am I still cutting out, or?
No, not everyone's, not by the way it was, no.
And I tried just about everything for myself and outside help. And I realized that there was still the frustration, there was still some anger. I wasn't 100%. I knew that, and I put out to the universe in a very strong way. It was something similar to dear spirit. What is it I need? What is it I need? What do I need to do to get back to where it was? And the next day, a elderly friend of mine said, would you like to do a ayahuasca journey? Which took me by surprise because I'm not the sort of person that would do it. And I said, yes, please. Sorry, I said no. As soon as I said no, my whole body went, and I was like, oh, okay, that's a yes. But the no is wrong as such. And I said, oh, so I inquired, and I thought about it for a couple of days, and I paid a $60 down payment. As soon as I paid the $60, I went, oh, I had the feeling. I was like, oh, yes, this is sacred. It's in line. It's in sync with what I asked for. And it took 2 weeks to connect for us. This is in New Zealand, so from overseas, the material for you, grey. It's not illegal in New Zealand, but it's not legal. It's grey. And when we did it, there was this big thing for 2 weeks of go in and connect with the ayahuasca. Yes, I just closed my eyes the first night, 2 weeks beforehand, and connected straight away. And it was a bit muffled, but it was something I was connecting with that was nice. Anyway, to cut matters story short, I'm not going to go right into it, but basically, it gave me a full recovery from the second concussion, and it right back and deep into the first concussion, and first concussion, even though I did not know, I hadn't recovered from the first concussion. So it was deep and it was natural, and I was back to better was before. Then the fun started, because while I was deep in the journey, we did a 6-hour journey, 3 times, all go. I loved it. It was brilliant. It was deep, and I loved that stuff. Honest, and there was an integrity. It was beautiful. It was right. It was sacred. Am I cutting out?
A little bit. Bugger.
And Nessie, and this is what we were speaking about before. I'm doing it backwards, but Nessie came in. And Nessie was a fractal, I call it a fractal ayahuasca goddess.
Mm-hmm.
And she just said, "Hey, I'm Nessie." And she was taking me through things. You know, I was aware, and they talked afterwards, through deep abusive pet children and getting it like a video for themselves. So real deep stuff was shared afterwards. It was a 6-7 hour journey. It was different for everyone. But I became myself again, and I was so scared. I've never been so scared for a long time that I was going to revert back, because I was myself again, and I could feel myself. I was crying, I was laughing, and I was so scared that I was going to lose myself again. Pretty deep.
Yeah.
And but Nessie stayed with me. Nessie stayed with me, and she's still with me a wee bit, you know, not much. And she would tell me off, and she would explore different avenues for me or with me, especially those first couple of weeks as I was transitioning to being myself now. So whether I liked it or not, I was evolving through all these processes, working full time, and then work and all the other things. And Nessie definitely helped. Ayahuasca journey definitely helped with bringing about the separation process and moving there again.
Well, there, man, I mean, because what you're sharing with me, and I'm still putting things together, and I was, trying to tie once again, the normal goddess that shows up for ayahuasca people is the giant snake known
Mm.
as Pachamama. She's the spirit of the Amazon. She's the kind of like, well, it would make sense that she would educate the people of the Amazon because of their environment. So
Mhm.
she's the wisdom. She represents the wisdom. She's the wisdom goddess, but the wisdom of the Amazon. So the fact that you come from Scottish heritage, she chose to manifest in another snake-like manifestation, which would be Nessie in her plesiosaur. Supposedly, she's a plesiosaur, and not to mention it's kind of like a woman's name, but
Mm.
usually how she presented as like a snake-like appendage coming out of the water. So for
Mm.
me, the transition from Pachamama to kind of like a proper totem for a Scotch person,
Mm.
like now we're going to use Nessie. So here's the interesting thing. So you and I are personally, I was talking about, this is the Shakti cluster,
Yeah.
and I've showed it to you, but I've also done it my own thing. The interesting thing is this point here, we call her Matangi. Matangi also has the same affiliation with Pachamama. So she would also have the same affiliation with Nessie. The interesting thing is, what is she like? In other words, these various tutelary deities have different kind of domains. So in other words, if we had to pick a totem animal for Matangi, it would be the buzzard. Because the buzzard turns death and turns it into, and mitigates it. Matangi is the goddess of the outcasts, the low castes. In other words, in India, they had like little like kind of crossroads. Sometimes they have Matangi things. If you had old clothes or garbage or stuff like that, that would be your offering to her.
Mm.
In other words, think of the vulture. Again, the vulture takes what could be disease and instead consumes it and just turns it into fertilizer.
Mm.
So Matangi represents taking those that everybody's been that rejected by others and turning them into something good.
Oh my God, the
And what
transmutation
do
of the
you
pain
do?
body.
What do you do for a living, my friend? You work with people who in a way are outcasts. So in my opinion, you are being approached by this particular Mahavidya, which is great wisdom, an emanation of the mother. This is us, by the way. We're in that central field. We're in the inertial plane. This is the inertial plane. This is the magnetic field here. And here we are in the inertial plane. So in other words, we are part of creation and we experience ourselves in the phenomenal world. Interesting enough, we're placed other these are the great wisdoms, and these are called the diamond sky dakinis. And here we are in the middle. Here's Mama. Okay. What do these 5 points represent? The senses. This is sight. Actually, this is Dakini on shift right now, Swan Deva. She represents sight. She's hearing. This is sense of smell. This is sense of touch. And look at the tongue is taste. So in other words, the way we appropriate our creation is through our sensory data. And here we are in the center, and the dakinis surrounding us are our sensory apparatus, given that we use through the nous provided by by Vivi, or wisdom. And then these are the great wisdoms. This is my guide, doesn't matter. But I'm telling you right now, my brother, Matangi, is talking to you big time. And,
I'm,
and,
I'm
and the
feeling
line of work you're in,
I'm feeling like a very beautiful buzzard. I really am. Like when you explained it, it was like, oh my gosh. And because we're transmuting the great pain body. So when you talk about buzzard, the gut, the shit, and fertilize as the new heaven on earth grows, my gosh, I'm sort of holding back the tears for about 20 seconds.
I mean,
Not that I needed to.
the buzzard is transmutation of the putrid, the
Yeah.
disease into something that has been, whatever. It's another form of fertilizer.
This is the second time that you've made something that's disgusting, sacrifice, and the buzzard. So beautiful.
Creation is one demonstration of a beauty if we can see it.
Mm.
And we need to replace ourselves in creation because there are narratives, the dominant narratives of the three great religions that place us in heaven. Even the Gnostic texts get confused and they constantly, we did originate in the galactic center. We were conceived as a concept in the galactic center.
Yes.
Part of the galactic center decided that it was going to conduct an experiment. Fortunately, it was the part of the galactic center that represents wisdom. And she turned herself into the earth and reseeded the planet, just like all the other planets had been seeded billions of years prior by other anthropoid species. That's why we have these visitors from Pleiades, from whatever. Yeah, there's humans all over the place. But they're an older, you know how you have different versions of software? Well, they're an older version. We on Earth are the freshest version of the concept of a humanoid. We are meant to be the sages of the galaxy, not the scientists, the sages. And us sages can handle science, but we don't get lost in it. Science serves us as it's meant to be. Doesn't rule us, doesn't take us off on paths that are not wise, doesn't take us away from wisdom.
How lucky are we to be in these times? Like we're on top of a mountain and we're a great big clod of earth. And we've only just, and I would say the last 2 months, started rolling down the hill and the speed. And I'm talking December, January, February, and March. We're picking up big speed now. Big speed. Snowball in the cloud of earth. But how amazing. I can't believe, like, I don't watch TV. But
No, I haven't had TV since 2010.
So I'm listening to the radio, and I'm just hearing people talking about they can't believe what's going on. But there's everybody saying they can't believe what's going on. Mm-hmm. And we're only, for us, we started many, many years ago, if not lifetimes, but this thing for this. We started so long ago, knowing there was something part of, and we watched some of our teachers die and go, etc. And we carried on, and then we become teachers. But now we're in it. We're happening. It's a joyous, universal pinpoint. We're in it.
Yeah.
It's the great white shark is our friend. Mm-hmm. We know it. And it's the deepest fear from the deep down. So it's the white taha thing again. It's that, the shark coming up is actually our friend. We didn't know. And the fear was, in reality, not making it.
Yeah. One of the things is, here I am, in America, and where there are many indigenous people here, that were displaced by, and, as much as I really want to clear it up, we always blame the Europeans for the displacement of what happened in North America. And yes, they were Europeans but they were Europeans with a mind virus because they were Christian Europeans. And I need to finish this point because the Vikings had been here, even the Templars. I mean, there had been so many people here that just settled, integrated, and whatever, because they didn't have the mind virus. They were Europeans, but they came to another country, and it was like, oh, here we're the superior. No, it's like, we have what we have, you what we have, and we're gonna intermingle. That's why so many of the northeastern Indian tribes can be blue-eyed. The Mohawk have red hair. A lot of the Mohawk are red-haired because of the Viking blood. So this was clearly the Europeans before Christianity came to North America and, interfaced with people. It wasn't until the mind virus of Christianity and the righteousness and whatever and all this shit that comes with that zeal, that's what conquered America. And unfortunately, it happened to be Europeans, but the Europeans, before they were Christian, didn't do that to America because they weren't Christians.
I disagree. The simple reason the Christians were probably more than likely okay, it was the ones that were using. Go back in time in America, the Christian people were not they weren't stupid. They weren't sheep. They get made out that they were, but they weren't. It was the people that were controlling them when they came in the larger numbers. And when they were bringing the indentured black and Irish, Welsh, etc., in a different countries, different colours in, that's when the virus started. And they used the Christians.
Yes. But I mean, again, it was still this, I mean, it was that mentality that allowed them to see fellow humans, because they weren't of the same faith, to be worthy of genocide. Okay, the original Europeans did not see it that way. The pagan Europeans did not see these other human beings as people to be conquered. They might have seen themselves as superior. Sort of thing as, hey, we've got some stuff to share with you. Now, by the way, you got some pretty good stuff here too. You make pretty nice clothing too. I mean, it was a completely, again, the genocide of America, the genocide of all indigenous people was done by the white Christian, not the white man.
Well, the people controlling the white Christians.
Yeah, but still, something, you don't have an excuse for being controlled. I'm sorry.
It's a fear set. It seems they got the fear going. Didn't matter if it was true or not. As long as they held the narrative, and they were holding the narrative from back home, wherever home was, most likely England. They were holding the narrative. They're pushing the narrative across. No using fear of the other countries, Dutch, French, etc., was being used. And the Indian tribes had no choice in most cases but take side.
Now, I mean, again, of course, again, you have, when you have native peoples, there's all kinds of frictions, like you would have in any social situation. And of course, the people, there were some very connivingly intelligent people who knew how to work those sides against each other, just like they do in government today. That's why there's different parties. I mean, God has forbid that we should actually think of like a national party. In other words, like, don't we all want the best? And why don't we just like sit there and argue it out until we kind of find some kind of common ground and say, like, two different parties that really represent cognitive dissonance? How do you, I mean, again, it's really interesting to read the portion of Mein Kampf where whoever wrote it, I know it's given to Hitler, but whoever wrote it, okay? There's a portion about where he rails against Parliament and says the reason to have a dictator, which could be benevolent, you can have a benevolent dictator. The reason I have a dictator is because you know who to point the finger at if it goes good or bad.
Mm.
When you have different parties, they point fingers at each other. He said,
Oh
if
yeah,
as
yeah.
long as everybody can point fingers, you really can't have a solution. When you have one person who actually is responsible for it all, if that person fails, well, then you can say off with their head, because there's no finger pointing. In other words, and there is, and once again, the key word is benevolent. And again, even dictatorship just means it's somebody who actually says, no, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. You know, everybody thinks dictate. No, dictate means I'm giving dictation. You, okay, I'm the brains. You're fucking up over there. You need to do this. No, no, that's not efficient. Do this. Are you over there? I mean, you know, once again, you make things run, and you know, and you don't, and you can, and once again, I mean, I certainly want, I mean, Mein Kampf is about as controversial as a document as one can bring up for what's wrong with the current political systems. But let me tell you, in that one piece of Mein Kampf, what is wrong with the current political systems is dead on.
Mm.
Now, once again, whether or not a benevolent, we can, I think there's a very healthy debate about whether a benevolent dictator arose from that. But and I don't want to have that. But once again, there's a difference between a concept and who said it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And once again, who knows who ghost? I mean, there's claims that was ghost written by another writer. So once again, you know, we could say, oh, Hitler said this. Did he?
Mm. We look at JFK, you know, some great couple of great speeches. They were written for him.
Mm.
And it was found out later that they'd been, you know, actually written 50 years before. Reorganized the spelling, and the writing. Yeah, yeah. I love. I never clicked onto the WRIT. Right, writing.
Yeah.
Never clicked onto that. I don't know why I didn't, but I didn't. So it brings a whole new.
English is the language where the homophones are hidden
Mm.
with their various spellings. So we can have the word right. Here's the other thing. Okay. Right hand, left hand, right? Okay. Most people are right hand. Okay. So there's a whole kind of thing of like when you do ritual, there's a ritual hand. So most people are right-handed. So what would your ritual hand be? Your dominant hand, which would be your right hand, R-I-T-E. Your ritual hand would be your right hand. So
Mm.
what is your other hand? Well, that's the one that's left.
Mm.
So here's your right hand. Now for left-handed people, this is their right hand. And
Mm.
their right hand would be the one that's left.
They tried to force. I had an uncle that they tried to force left-handed people to right-handed.
Mm-hmm.
I think there may have been an agenda behind that.
Yeah, well, there is the brain. So supposedly left hand is more right-brained, and so right hand is more left-brained. And I think there's complete validity to that.
Mm.
Just because you're right-handed doesn't mean you can't replug in your right brain and run the V8 as it's meant to run, you know, both together. Because I mean, when you have the beautiful interplay of the logical mind plotting points, okay, you kind of got these points. I got this, and then you have the right mind come. You know, in other words, the left brain deducts, the right brain inducts. So it
Mm.
says, okay, here are these dots. Why don't you try and fill them with this? And it gives you a whole thing to fill it up with. And then you can kind of, with your left brain, look at it and go, yeah, that might make sense. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like there's this like interplay of like, you kind of create a skeleton and then the right brain puts some flesh and bones on it, flesh and muscles on it.
Mm.
You think of these aesthetics. I mean, there's this, but it happens like boo, 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 boo. It's kind of like, here's the points. Here's the induction. No, I want another one. Here's another one. Yeah, that's better. How about this? But you understand? I mean, so you get the right, in other words, the logic is questioning what the right brain's throwing up. And then the right brain starts to refine it because now the logic's questioning the right brain in a certain way, and the right brain wants the left brain to get it. And you kind of, it almost gets hammered out.
Well, I feel the need to move in a few minutes. What do you think? How do you feel the next week is going to go?
I think, you know, I think things are going to start winding down because we have a waning moon. I think this insanity is going to start. You know, I mean, we just had the full moon. It might be it might take another towards the end of the week before. Like, I think by the next weekend, there's going to be new conversations going into the weekend. Because there's not enough evidence to support the hysteria. I mean, other than missing toilet paper.
It is a phenomena.
I mean, I went in. I had a friend of mine stop me off at my local place. I want to get in. I just want to get one item. The whole place was filled. I have never seen my local supermarket filled this way, and I knew what it was the mind virus had infected the zombies. The zombies. In other words, not everybody here is a zombie, but I still live. I mean, I still live. We all live amongst a common population, and there's a lot of zombies amongst us. And I saw them today. They were in the supermarket, panic buying.
PDP, Petri dish. I couldn't believe it when it. Yeah.
I took one scan. I just said, wait, because there's like usually the long lines where people have a lot of products, and there's the express line. Usually the express line has like 2 people, 3 people on it. The express line had like 12 people on it. And I said, no. I walked right out and got back in the car. I said, take me to another local place. I don't care what I pay for it. I mean, I don't want to be infected by them. Not by the C virus, by whatever the fuck made them go in there and do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're certainly seeing people being pushed know their own mind, and I'm expecting over the next week, the next month, a lot of people picking up books, searching on the internet. I think the trending is going to trend towards me stuff, self-help books, etc., calming your mind because you've trapped your mind. So let's get a self-help book. I'm myself. There for my kids, there for my parents. So I think this is going to work in the opposite way. Boomerang, as they call it, the boomerang or whatever, or catalyst for change. I mean, it's I think that by the end of this week, when we talk next week and we do the sharing, I would like to feel that the planet has just gone notches.
Say it again. You want the whole planet to what?
Going up a couple of notches. There's a lot of buzzards.
Yeah.
Did that come through?
Yeah, this crisis is an opportunity for a lot of things. And again, I think at the end of the week, we might see a little bit of what has been building. In other words, this is like kind of the unfolding process now as the moon winds down. It's there. I mean, talk about 3D chess, because there's so many layers to even this, virus story. And then connected to the virus story is all other things that are happening underneath that. There is so much going on.
Look how much has been put into play in the last 6 months. But I did a reflection this morning on awaking. All the bits and pieces and good deeds, helping, assisting, helping people know themselves, helping myself, know myself, know themselves, that I've done was pushing that snowball up the hill, or that clod of earth. And now I know that we're well on our way. You know, I felt like 2010 we're well on our way. That was 10 years ago. And I knew it was happening in 2012, 13. But now we're sitting on top of the hill. And we ain't going down to go up the next hill. You know what I mean? That ain't happening no more. We're sitting there watching the snowball or the clod going down the hill. And that's where I woke up this morning. It's like, I can sit here now. I can sit here. You know, I did all that pushing and I did all this and that and everything else. And then I had to push that off. Then I had to watch. There's anxiety around this, going to happen, etc. Now it's like the shoulders just went, oh. And they shouldn't be going, oh, because the world seems to have gone crazy. But actually, that was like the signal. That was the green light going, go.
For me, again, there's a lot of storms that are blowing right now. And for those of us who want to observe and actually feed some of the coherence of it, we have to be in the calm of the storm. So that's in our own center. If we are in our own center, we automatically put ourselves in the calm of the storm. In other words, because we align with the center. The calm of the storm is where the center of the storm is. So if we are centered, we can be in the center of the storm. If we're not centered, we will be in the storm. And for any, once again, pick your place. You want to be in the storm? Be in the storm. You want to be in the relative calm, watching the storm? Well, center oneself. Again, but you, again, it gets tricky because to me, there's so many false narratives out there, and it's hard to center into a false narrative and expect good results. But I know you have to go. So, you have any final remarks?
Thank you, Marty. Thank you, the One Truth Forum and the Above Top Forum. Now, these are things enjoy being, the fella enjoy being.
Yeah.
Other people that put comments last week and the week before. I noticed that we're getting nice views now. We're getting at least a couple of hundred a week. I envisage that rising. I do feel that people are drawn to the light, and it's always good to natter and have a good talk with you and know it's being shared.
No, I heard your word. I mean, you didn't cut out, but I didn't understand the word. BitChute?
Oh no, it's always good to have a natter with you. Talk.
Well, I'm very appreciative of you because I truly love people. I love people. That's why I'm being so social. I love people. But I find it hard to relate to people I don't know. I mean, this anonymity on the internet. It's like, who the fuck am I talking to? I mean, I mean, again, if I speak to somebody on Zoom, I know who they are, but I don't know who I'm talking to in most cases. And and once again, my face is on screen, my voice is. Everybody, people know who I am. I don't know who the fuck I'm talking to, and that bugs me. And especially, again, I mean, when I was doing my Can't You Hear Me Now, so I'd read the comments, and it's like, what am I doing this for? I'd read my live stream. What am I doing this for? This is futile. This is silly. This is like vanity. So, I'm just not, and I'm not vain.
Oh, I look forward to when there's 40 or 50 comments and a few of them are very annoying. I look forward to talking to you about that, talking with you about that.
But I do appreciate anybody who pulls me into a sphere that does talk to people. Like I said, I love people, but it's really this anonymity of the web is a big turnoff to me. Big turnoff.
Keep it in the back of your mind. It's the last step before telepathy. And we're working with that. We're in part of that. We're special.
Yeah.
We're very normal.
Oh yeah. I consider myself. That's why I go out and hang out with normal like people, because I am normal. I mean, once again, I've gotten into some really good conversations with people, and they go, "This is so great. I can't imagine I'm having this kind of conversation in a bar."
Mm-hmm.
And I let them take me there. I didn't take them there. They said something, and then I could kind of like, "How about this?" Oh yeah, you know what I mean? I'm not out there trying to spread any theories. I'm not trying to spread any Gnosticism or anything. Every once in a while I meet somebody who let me know. I go, I'm a pagan, and they go, I'm a pagan too, and we do a fist bump, and that's fun. But again, I love people, and when I go out, I don't challenge them. I find out where they are, and then I try to meet them there, and then occasionally I'll go up one step. And then often when they follow me, and then they're like, "Oh, I didn't know we could do that." I mean, like they thought, this is a bar conversation, right? We can't go too far. Well, I didn't come here. I didn't come here to get drunk, So.
I've got one little thing I just remembered. When I was at the market this morning, there was a lady I know quite well. I gave her a big hug and we laughed because the Irish thing about hugging, like at each other and laughed about it. Anyway, it's something like, this 2020 virus is just as good as 9/11. Wake a lot of people up.
Yeah.
I forgot, and this is a good thing, I think. I forgot there's 20 people around because this is a market, and we were loud. I was loud. We were talking. There'd been a stop. You hear something and you go, So all these people around us had stopped. I was very vocal and I went, "Oh, that was a bit loud, but I think some people here know what I mean," and some of them smiled. Yes, so that was a wee sign for me. I would never have said that loud one. Saying like, this 2020 virus, saying 2020, COVID-19 or whatever, this 2020 virus, it's only COVID 2019, that's what it.
Yeah, that's why they call it COVID-19. 19 is because it began in December or November.
So just saying that, like, this 2020 virus is the closest thing since 9/11 for waking people up. And and I also said cognitive dissidence won't work this time. So I said I said a good 30 seconds out loud. Yeah, and I loved that, and I laughed. I was laughing because everything had stopped around us, and she was like a little girl going. It was lovely. It was lovely. It was just something that was a micro thing that's got a macro feel.
Well, like I said, even when I went to my local supermarket today and I saw this situation, to me, it's just, I was like, let me let the zombies finish, and I'll come at another time. And again, when I say zombies, it may sound like, "Oh, you sound cruel." It's just like, the reason they're buying all this stuff is because there's something happening in their heads that has little to do with the real world.
And they may have to support other people, in their mind, they need to have the food there for their grandmother.
Something? No, but here's the thing that other people are observing. It isn't food in these things. It's paper towels, toilet paper, hand sanitizer. It's just like, I mean, I'm stocked up on food. I have 25 pounds of rice. I have like another 5 pounds on the side of that. I have endless cans of kidney and black beans, and everything's organic.
Mm.
I mean, it's like, and then, I got 2 rolls of toilet paper plus one that I haven't finished using. But then I realized I have a bunch of t-shirts I never use. I have bleach, I have soap, I have water. I mean, like, I'm worried. I have a tub. I can do bidet. I could go French style. I don't even need any toilet paper. What do I care about? But I have food. At least I have food, so at least I have a reason to wipe my ass.
Oh dear, it's a beautiful world. Bless you, Marty. Thank
Okay.
you.
Bless
You
you.
also give me an outlet and something.
Okay. Okay, so that's Mystic Brew, 2 Mystics. I'll name it something relevant. And by the time I put it up. And so anyway, hope you're enjoying the content that I'm putting up lately. I'm still working on some songs, but man, it's so much work.
Araha nui.
Okay. 3, 2, I don't have to end the meeting. I can just stop the recording. Bye all.